Hey Jody, so this lesson is about pasting into selections without loss in quality as well as smart objects. So I'm going to use this example of a graphic we just made for Kim. Mom wanted basically a center oval with some ovals on the outside with images pasted in and some text, maybe a background layer. So you could see that the size and shape of these ovals are variables that you want to have some control over. If you simply made an oval and then copy and pasted it, you might find when you were done the ovals were too big or not the right size or not the right distance between them. Maybe there wasn't enough space for the text. So it'd be nice to have control over all of that. So we're going to start out with a blank canvas, white. We're going to make sure the default colors are black and white by hitting the D key and the X key if necessary to make sure the foreground color is black. Under View, we're going to make sure Snap to all these options are clicked. And then we're going to make a new transparent layer on top of the background layer. We're going to have the marquee oval tool selected. We're going to hit the Option key to start from the center and drag outward, and we're going to make an oval maybe a little bit bigger than we need. I'm going to hit the Option Delete key to fill that with black. Hit the Command D key to deselect it. I'm going to center this by highlighting the background layer as well as the oval layer, hitting the Move tool. You know how to do that with these controls here. Hitting the horizontal and the vertical one, so now it's centered. Now, we're going to highlight this top layer and turn it into a smart object by right-clicking on it and hit Convert to Smart Object. Then, we're going to, with the Move tool selected, hitting the Option key, we're just going to drag and basically lay out the general format here. Again, I'm hitting the Option key as I drag so it makes a copy of it, and you can see each one is put on a new layer. Alright, now again with the Move tool selected, you can look at this distance here. That looks pretty reasonable. I want this one to be vertically aligned, so I'm going to hit with the Move tool selected. I'm going to drag over until those guides show up. So now it's vertically correct. And I'm going to grab this one and make sure that's horizontally hooked up. I'm going to make sure the distance to the outside is similar to the one on the right. Looks pretty good. This one I'm going to drag, make sure it's both vertically and horizontally set up. So you can see that these are now horizontally and vertically lined up. But if you look, the distance between them is maybe a little bit more narrow than I would like. There's not really enough room here for the text. So what we're going to do is we're going to make these more round, and we're going to maybe reduce them in size just a fraction. So if you then double click on any one of these smart objects, it doesn't matter which one, just double click on it, you then get to edit and transform the interior of that smart object, which will affect all the other objects equally. Now, but it would be nice to see the main image while we're doing that transformation. So if you go up to the toolbar here and hit View, under Window, and hit Arrange and hit 2 up vertical, you then get 2 windows side by side, editing the interior as well as looking at the overall image. So I'm going to click on this right image here, and I'm going to scroll out a little bit so we can see the whole thing. And then I'm going to left click on this left image. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make them a tad more round. So we're then going to hit Command T again with this one on the left highlighted, and I'm going to hit the lock button, and then I'm not going to hit the lock button. I'm just going to make them more round by hitting the width. If you see here, I have 100% width. I'm going to hit the down arrow to make that a little bit less. So let's go to 95. See, it says 95 here now. I'm going to hit Command S to save that image. It's going to ask me whether I want to apply that transformation. I'm going to hit apply in a second, but I want you to look over here and see what happens. Sure enough, it made them all a little bit rounder. And maybe what we'll do is make them all a little bit smaller. In addition to that, let's go click on this left image again, hit Command or Control T to transform it. Now I'm going to hit the lock button, and I'm going to reduce the overall size again. I have width clicked, but it doesn't matter since I have the lock button hit. I'm going to go down to 95 this time. I'm going to again hit Command S to save. It's going to ask me about applying the transformation. Keep your eye on this right one here. I'm going to hit apply, and now they've all reduced in size. So let's look at this a little bit more. It looks pretty good. It looks like there's enough space for some text in here, and the distance between them looks pretty comfortable, and we're able to adjust all of them symmetrically. Alright, now what we can do is we can close this image on the left since we've already saved the transformation. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and sure enough, that looks pretty good. This distance looks pretty good. The distance to the outside looks pretty good. Alright, now, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the background in below these oval images. So I'm going to highlight this white background layer here, and we're basically going to paste in a layer above that with the background. I happen to know ahead of time though that the background is a small resolution image, and we're going to want to transform it without losing quality and paste it above that. Alright, so now I'm going to hit open, and I'm going to open that image of the background, and I'm going to right click on, since I know this is a small, low resolution image and I'm going to want to enlarge it, I'm going to right click on it and hit convert to smart object. I'm then going to hit Command A to select it all, Command C to copy it, and then we're going to go back to our original image again with that background layer selected, and we're going to hit, watch, edit, paste special, paste in place. We're then going to hit Command T to transform it. We're going to make sure the lock button is clicked, and then we're going to scrubby scroll next to this top area here and increase the size so that it's at least as big as the background layer. We're then going to hit the little checkbox to apply that transformation, and sure enough, now it's been enlarged and fills the entire frame. Alright, now the next thing we can do is I'm just going to use one image. I'm going to paste it into this oval. So let's go up to that left oval, which is this layer here. I'm going to have that layer highlighted. I'm going to hit the magic wand tool over here. I'm going to click in the center of that, which highlights that oval. And now I'm going to open up an image that I want to paste into there. So I'm going to hit open, and it's going to be this picture of a jellyfish. Alright, now I happen to know this image also is a low resolution image. It's going to have to be enlarged. So I'm going to right click on that, hit convert to smart object. I'm going to hit Command A to select it all, Command C to copy it. I'm going to go back to the original image, which has this circle highlighted already. We just did that. And we're going to hit edit, paste special, paste into. And sure enough, it's smaller than the hole we want to paste it into. So we're then going to hit Command T to transform it. We're going to hit the lock button, and then we're going to enlarge it by using the scrubby scroller over here. and we're going to make it big enough so that it fits. When it looks correct, we're going to hit the little checkbox. Again, as long as this is highlighted here, we can then use the Move tool to adjust its position. And sure enough, we've got it pretty well centered how we want it. And that looks pretty good. Alright, now, remember in the original image, I had a stroke around this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to highlight that oval again. We can do that by simply clicking on the original image. Actually, I'm going to use the mask that was set up when this got pasted in. You can see it over here. I'm going to hit Command, click on that mask. That highlights this. Make sure the original oval is selected. It's this layer right here. And then we're going to hit Edit. Nope. So I actually had to click the image that was pasted into. We're going to hit Stroke. And we're going to hit it in the center. And I have 40 selected, which happens to be the right size. I'm going to hit OK. And sure enough, that allowed us to stroke it. I'm going to hit Command D to deselect it. And that looks pretty good. Alright, finally, and you can do that same process with each of these ovals, pasting in, again, using Smart Objects to adjust the size and getting it so we don't have loss in resolution. The last thing I want to show you is how we're going to put the text in. Obviously, the text wouldn't do very well on this background layer. It would be lost in the confusion of all of these fish. So I'm going to highlight that background layer, and then I'm going to put a mask on it after it's highlighted down here. And I'm going to paint on that mask with black to get rid of some of these fish. So here, black is the foreground color. I'm using the paintbrush right here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Zoom in, I should say. And I'm going to paint, and you can see by painting it allows us to get rid of some of that fish. There we go. You could see that I made a small mistake here. I got rid of a little bit extra here that I didn't want to. By hitting the X key, it'll flip those black foreground and background colors. And then we can repaint in and make this come back. I'm hitting X again to get rid of this. So that looks pretty good. Again, with that layer highlighted, I then can hit the text tool here. We can select the color of the text right here. So I'm going to hit the swatches box. I'm going to pick maybe this brown color. Then it becomes brown here. I'm going to click here and write birch. Aquarium. If you grab below the text, you can adjust its position the way you want it. That looks pretty good. I'm going to put a little adjustment layer on that to put a shadow on it. Hit the Enter key to apply that. Hit the button here to do a adjustment layer on it. I'm going to hit Drop Shadow. I like these settings. Hit OK, and that adds that adjustment layer. Now I'm going to zoom out, and again, you can go back down to that background layer And using that mask, using the paintbrush tool, again hitting the D key to get black and white, you could paint on that mask and get rid of, nope, that's wrong. Painting on the mask, using black, you can then get rid of some of this area to put some text down here. And similarly, you could put another series of text down in there. And there you go, Joe. We were able to paste into, we were able to adjust the size of these ovals, and using masks, we're able to get rid of some of the background layer. I showed you how to stroke, and how to use smart objects to adjust all these ovals together so that the distances were correct. Take care, Joe.